Welcome everybody to another episode of AFAKASI Scoop.
Hey!
Hello. We're online again today because we're still in lockdown, but you can find our video on YouTube or on any of our listening platforms. Also too, if you go under the Wes Network page on YouTube to look for us, you can also subscribe while you're there. Cool. So you'll remember in episode 19 we talked about dating under 40 or after 40, sorry, and sometimes dating under 40-year-olds, but anyway, and the things we have to take into account, especially as mums, about when we start dating again. So we're really excited today to have as our two guests on the podcast two ladies who are going to shed some light on what happens when, I guess, the dating goes right and you become a blended family. So our guests today, Helen and Ty, have launched a family blog called Two Mums and Then Some, where they share their co-parenting blended family experiences. And they use this platform to support, advise and empower women, working mums, single mums and busy mums to navigate through the blended family life because they've been through it. So welcome, ladies, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, good. So we'll start just with a short introduction of yourselves. Ty, do you want to go first? Let us know who you are and how you guys know each other.
Hi guys. My name is Tai. I am a 40-something mum to two 20-year-old girls. They are Ali and Anya, now currently 12. So how I know Helen? She's with my ex.
That sounds so cringy.
So, Helen is my co-mama on the page. So we're a blended family. Helen is obviously the partner of the girl's father, Alifa. So that's me.
Nice.
Awesome.
So obviously she's explained how we know each other. So I am the mum to Ava and Livy. Olivia is her real name. And Ava is 11 and Livy's 7 now. And obviously I'm separated or divorced from their father and now with Alifa, he's the father to my step babies Alia and Anya, the twins.
Nice.
Oh, that sounds so wow. I know. It's
Carry on.
Oh,
my heart. It's like different compared to that big. Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we Alifa and I have been together now for coming up 5 years. Still
waiting.
I'm working on it.
Still waiting.
So you better hurry up.
I'm working on it.
Still no ring. So I'm as his daughter Anya pointed out the other day, I'm technically single because I'm not married.
We are, Helen. We are.
Well, she said it. So yeah. So we've been together like 5 years now. So my youngest was only just turned 2 when we got together.
I didn't mention
I was going to say, you forgot about your husband.
Yes, my husband. So yes, I'm married, coming up to 3 years in October, and so we have so many blended families on his side. He has 3 boys, a father of 3 boys. So his oldest is Malik. Malik is 22. Caleb has just turned 20, and then we have Joaquin Osea, and he's 13. So there's five kids between us, and it's kind of cool that we sort of brought the different sexes or our own clones into our sort of marriage, so into our family. So yeah, big, really big blended family, and we've quite a few times gone when we've supported the girls. All of us have been there with all of our children, so it's been really cool.
That's so awesome. You know what? When I look at when I hear the word blended family, I didn't really actually understand what blended family meant. Okay, I kind of thought blended family was, okay, we're together, your kids come over and my kids come over. I'll go to their dad with his new partner or something like that. I didn't really look into what an actual blended family was. And I just want to ask you, Helen, when did you guys first think of actually talking, or when did you guys first meet? Like,
Well, there's a bit of a
started talking.
story. There's a bit of a story behind that, and we actually are going to put a new post up on our page. It was meant to be today, but both of us were super busy at work. So we actually met on Valentine's Day on February the 14th, 2017. So I'd been picked up by Alifa to be taken out for dinner. And he had organised with actually Linda, you know, your guys' co-host Linda, to babysit the kids because she was living with me at the time, and to take me out to dinner. So we went to dinner and we're sitting at the restaurant, and I'm sitting there with my new man, you know, across the table from me, all excited because, you know, I didn't get dinners out with my ex-husband, and we just ordered our meals, and I see two people walking towards our table, and I'm like, oh, they must be coming to sit down. And then I looked up and I was like, oh my God, it's his fucking ex-wife. She's walking towards us. And my heart was like beating. All I could think of was, fuck, she's going to want to have a fight with me in the restaurant. And so she walks up to us with her husband. Well, at the time they weren't married, but Ganyu was with her, and she was like, hi guys, and I was like, oh my God, this is so awkward. And even Alifa was like, as she was walking towards us, he was like, oh my God, what the hell are the chances of this happening? Us both
So it wasn't planned. He didn't plan it.
Shit, no.
Oh my
No.
God.
And he had actually never met, we call him Kay. He'd never met Kay before either. So we were all meeting each other. And basically they, obviously I'll let Tai tell her side of the story, but they obviously made the decision to, they must have seen us and thought, oh, let's go say hi, you know, like be rude not to. So
That's nice.
obviously they introduced themselves, and we made some small I can't even remember what we talked about because I was just like, oh my God, this is actually happening. And then later on in the evening, once we got home, like I've always been like a real firm believer in life that things happen for a reason, you know, they don't just happen, it's not a coincidence, like everything happens for a reason. And I just kept thinking about it, and I thought, you know, like she could have been really awful to me that night. She could have snobbed us. They could have chosen not to come say hi. All sorts of different scenarios went through my head, and I just thought, oh, stuff it, I'm just going to send her a message. So I sent her a message on Facebook and just said, I can't even remember what I said, but it was something like, it was really nice to meet you tonight. Thanks for, you know, coming and saying hi. And then we just started talking from there. But I'll let Ty tell her side of the story.
I don't even know, B, if I've even shared it with you, but obviously I got picked up. I got all dressed up for my date with my now husband, and we were driving into the car park, and honestly I think before we even drove in I was like, man, what would be the chances? And then I saw Alifa's car.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh, are you serious? And then I was just like, what? And my husband, Kay's like, what is it? And I go, that's Alifa's car. And he's like, do you want to leave? And I was like, oh, hell no. You know, I was like, no, it's not there. It's not just their Valentine's. It's everyone's Valentine's. No, we're going to go in. But anyway, we walked in, and I said to the lady, oh, you know, can you let us know where we're seated? And she pointed, and she said we were going to be seated next to you guys in the area. And I was like, far out, it just gets better. And I said, is there any way you can move us? And she said, it's Valentine's Day, it's fully booked. And I said, that's my ex-husband. She goes, one moment. And so she found us another table. So we did. But as we were walking to the table, I was like, you know, I've heard rumours about this Helen, you know, I know they're together, you know, this for me was a real defining moment. And, you know, like, this woman looks after my children, and I really want to meet her. And I don't know if it was ideal, but I was like, oh, so I said, okay, actually, so yeah, you met later, but actually I went to the table alone. But I'd said to him, I'm going to go and say hi. And he's like, are you sure? Are you going to be all right? Should I come with you? You know, because I don't know. But I was like, nah, I'll be all right, you know, because I was thinking, this is it. I can actually meet her. And there was no feeling of, and when I tell the story to my family or to my best friends, I said, because they were like, how could you have? And I go, I just had this real calming peace. Like, I was like, no, I had no issues, and I thought it was probably not the best day, but it was the right moment. And so, I just was thinking, no, I'm going to go. And he's like, do you want me to come with you? I said, no, I think it's something I need to do first. And then later, and so I went up to them first. But I do remember that too. Helen, when it was like, holy crap, there was this moment of, okay, I've said hi, what now? And then I just remember going, because your back was to me, Helen, and then I just said, hi, I'm Tai. And then that was it, really.
Honestly,
but I said to her,
like, oh my God.
But I didn't.
I was like, this
just.
is it.
But it was just one of those. I just felt it was really important for me to meet the woman that was, that my girls were being, gossied by every night. I wanted to meet her, and I thought, but leading up to it, there were times if I ever see her, what am I going to do? And there's moments where it's like, but no, I just felt like it was something I needed to. I had a real adult moment in that time.
Oh, nice.
And then but later on, so I did say we did chat. She disappeared. We did chat, and then I went and got my husband. I was like, no, just wait. I'm going to go get Kay, my boyfriend. And so, I went and got him, and then we had this chat. And I do remember saying to Helen later on, she messaged me, and I was like, what the heck now? What? Are we going to be friends now? But, I did say to her, I didn't want to like you. I'm going to be straight up. I did not want to like her, but in a few moments, I was like, damn it, she's really cool chick, and I like her. Can't say you be. But I was just like, wow, she's actually really, really cool. And so, of course, when she messaged, I thought honestly, that just took her up there. I thought she's taken the time to message me, and it really started from there. And then we just did a lot of messaging back and forth, and then it's just developed.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Tai, had you and Alifa talked about what's going to happen, like with the kids and introducing another partner into the relationship?
Not at all. I think, like, I don't want to say too much without him being able to speak for himself, but I feel like in the beginning there was a lot of denial. No, I'm not seeing anyone. No, I'm not seeing anyone. And I think it was something that I was really worried about, anxious about, was, who the girls were going to be introduced to, or what. But no, we hadn't. So, but I had obviously heard that he was seeing this woman, and so I was anxious to meet her, and I just did it, just surprised myself, really.
We met quite early on in the piece too, which was probably a good thing, because it took away any any guesswork or any like storytelling or anything like that, like because the kids from a very early point on saw us as we weren't co-parenting at that point, but we were civil, we were polite, we were friendly, so there was never any like, I don't know what's the word I'm trying to say, like there's no bullshit really from the beginning. Because I had actually only started seeing Alifa like not long before that. So him and I have been friends for years. We actually worked together at McDonald's when we were teenagers. That's how I knew him. And we had only started hanging out at Christmas. So we'd only been together for formally for I don't know, 7 or 8 weeks at that point. So it was very, very, very new. But I think it was a good thing that we met early on.
And I was hearing the girls mention her name too, so I was like, I really, as much as, and I'm gonna be honest, your exes or something, like, I don't know, who's that, and I just kept hearing this name, and I was just worried that, if for some reason Alifa couldn't look after the girls, and Helen, this woman, would be looking after them. It was just really important for me to meet her. So we got that out of the way quite early.
That's a really awesome point too, because not a lot of I guess women think that way, because there is too much emotion involved with the the exes and stuff. I remember my now ex-husband, when he started dating his new partner. We have 2 sons together, and when he started dating his new partner, I actually heard about it from the kids as well, because they start telling me something that happened at Christmas. They're like, oh, blah blah blah, and I was like, I'm sorry, who? This is so, I don't know about that. And I kind of had the same thought, like, hang on, you're hanging out with my kids, you know, and it's like important for me as a mum to know who's hanging out with my kids. And so then I messaged my ex-husband and asked him, and then that's how we started, you know, how I found out about that. But it's not an easy thing to do, though, I guess, to broach that subject with, and there is a lot of that hiding, kind of like, because you know, I guess for men too, they don't really want to, like, how do they even start that conversation, with and
I guess the fear also of when your first relationship hasn't worked out, and then you're wondering, is this person going to be worth the time and arguing, for starters, you know, or you know, like setting up that kind of, having that conversation with the ex, and then it doesn't last long. But yeah,
it's a tricky one. And also, when is the right time to introduce another person to your children? And of course that all depends on the circumstances that you separated with their father on. But yeah, it is a tricky one. But when you're a single mum, like, and you know, you don't have a lot of other support networks, you sort of do have to take your kids along, because it's like, well, you know, unless you've got like babysitters for Africa, which, mind you, Ty and I both do, but still, you know, we're the sort of people that our kids come first, so they were very much involved in that from the beginning.
Hey, I saw a post on Facebook today, and it was about that. Was it Brian Saw? Brian Saw, I think that's his name. And there was a comment that I read, and I thought, I want to bring that up tonight. The comment was by some person who said, I'm glad you're with an islander. So my question is, did you feel any of that, Helen? Like any sort of negativity towards you, or even you, Tay, when you found out she was Bālangi? Was there any sort of reaction to it? You know, I thought I'd just ask that question. Has culture in any way come into play with how your lives are, or how it was, you know, leading up to it and stuff?
I think for me, because my ex-husband's Samoan, so it was a little bit like, the fact that Ty was Samoan, it didn't make me even blink. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even a thing for me. I was nervous to meet her on the fact that I thought, I'm, you know, European, I'm a crazy white lady, like, you know, what's she gonna think about me? But it's funny, because I've got one of my best friends actually said to me, she even though she says she likes you, she doesn't actually like you because you're white. Like, you're a white girl with her ex-husband, you know. But then some people have actually said to me, oh, it's probably better for her that you're European, because there's no, like, I don't know. It's fucking weird, but for me,
this is a safe place.
Yeah. I think, like, yeah, some people have said, oh, she probably likes the fact that you're not Samoan, you know. I don't know. It's different. Like, my family upbringing was, I had a really, really, really strict father who brought us up in a very European fashion. And when I say European, I mean like actual European, like his ancestors are from Sicily, you know, so he's very traditional. So in actual fact, a lot of our upbringing stories that Ty and I have exchanged are not too dissimilar, you know, in some respects. Like, you know, I was raised really strict. You know, in order for me to do anything, I had to sneak out, which I did. Yep, I own that. I was a naughty girl. Yeah. I was a terrible child, and if my children do half of what I do, I'm in for a shock. But, you know, so funnily enough, like, even though Ty and I are sort of chalk and cheese in some respects, we've also got a lot in common in our morals, in our belief systems about certain things, and you know, so yeah. But I don't know. I've actually never asked you that question, like what you thought.
You can answer now, Tay. Go. I really thought.
I'll just go out the door so she can't run in. I can honestly say, hand on heart, it's never been an issue. I've never seen her as a Bālangi. I've only seen her for the stepmother of my children, and I've just honoured and loved her for that. because I've seen that my children are just so well taken care of, and it's never been an issue. But I think that it's probably an issue for others around us, or even some of our probably maybe lefers too, like our old school whaasamo, aunties, uncles, that's the comments that come through are mostly from them, just nothing terrible. It's just like, oh yeah, because he's with a palangi now, so those sort of things won't matter, like whaasamo or anything like that. And actually she's probably more Samoan than a lot of Samoans.
I'm worse than him with some stuff, like my willingness to help, things.
Yeah.
So sometimes he's like, no.
Never ever been an issue, and I've never, but what it's interesting, because I'm hearing it for the first time, what her friends are saying, that I probably think it is better. And I don't know, listening to her, I sort of probably went, oh yeah, probably was, that's one less whaasamo we need to worry about. But yeah, I can honestly say I've never seen her for being the palangi. She's just been another really cool mum.
Oh, that's cool. So when it comes to holidays and stuff, or special events or birthdays, so like my husband has a kid, and then it was sort of the beginning of a blended family, but my husband and I have 3. Anyway, we got along well, but it was getting to that point where they were inviting us to a lot of stuff, and I was like, can you calm it down? No.
Yeah.
Okay, hello, it's my husband, I want to stay here with my family. So has there ever been a time, like, it's cool hanging out and everything, but have there ever been times where either of you want to do something with your current partner and your kids, but then the other one suggests, hey, should we invite? How does it ever happen where sometimes it's like, oh yeah, it's great, but, or you guys are happy-go-lucky, do everything together? Like, how does it work?
We definitely don't do everything together. I personally think that we have quite a good balance. Like, we still celebrate the children's birthdays separately. We still do Christmas separately. We have done our first family holiday together at the beginning of the year. And I was just saying to Tai last night, actually, we'll talk about a bit about that later, I think, but Alifa and I go up to Opanoni quite a bit. A really good friend of mine has a batch up there.
Oh, yes, I know who that is.
Yeah, and she's always said to me, you're welcome to use the batch, and we take her up on it because, it's just a beautiful place. And we went up, I had said to Alifa earlier in the year, we were planning on going up for a weekend, and I said, do you think we should invite Tai and Kay? And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, well, like, I don't see why not, I want to we almost invited them. It wasn't even about the kids, it's because we wanted to show them where we go, because they always see the photos, they always hear the stories of Opanoni and what we got up to, and we just wanted them to experience what our family holidays look like, so that they sort of also had an appreciation for why we want to take the kids away, you know what I mean, during their time and things like that. So we wanted to show them that, and we were a little bit we had some reservations about operationally how it would look when we were up there, because it was our time with the kids and all that sort of thing. But honestly, it just was effortless. Like, it wasn't even a thing. It was like we were just there with our family. It was absolutely fine. But just going back to your question, is it sometimes get too much? I don't think that there's been many moments when it's got too much, but there has been situations where we've done stuff together, and it's like we've helped each other out or something. There was an instance this year where Tai had something on at her house, and we were going around quite a bit to give her a hand and stuff. And towards the end of that week, we thought all her family's there now, so we pulled back a bit because we didn't want to overtake or step on anyone's toes, or like, not that her family necessarily thought like this, but we didn't want them to think, oh, they're here again, like we went in, we did our bit, she knew we were there, and then we pulled back a bit towards the end to let her family do their thing. And I guess we're also quite conscious that she's married and it's her husband's right and duty to involve his family and friends, not always her ex-husband. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a balance between, you know, letting people know that you're there, you're willing to help and you respect, but also not overdoing it and not overtaking.
Yeah, I agree with Helen. I think we've got a really good. I think we've worked it out really, really well. And like she said, we share. We do celebrate our own time, the milestones, the birthdays, Christmas, all of those, Easter even as well. And we've worked out things like for Christmas, you know, if you had them Christmas Eve, then I'll have them, you know, Christmas Eve next year. So we've worked it out, you know, quite well. But we're also really, really flexible. And I think that's one of the huge benefits of having this type of relationship, is that it's not so strict. Like, no, it's not my day, it's not your day, and no, you can't see them. You know, we're really flexible. And I think it, you know, especially for the children, it's important. I mean, you know, some of their best friends, they might be, you know, they've met through their dad, through church, they might be having a birthday party, but they're with me and they might want to go, you know, and I don't want to, you know, hold them back from just because they're with me. And Alif is the same, Alif and Helen. So we're always communicating about, you know, if there's a special event, you know, we're not so, you know, black and white when it comes to that's my day, that's, you can't have them and they can't see their friends, you know, stuff like that. So I think we've got it all worked out really, really well. And just commenting on what Helen brought up before about the family, I just, yeah, this so early this year I lost my mum suddenly in April, and those two were one of the first ones to reach out to me, and then and they brought food to the hospital, they were feeding my family. We talked about this yesterday. I was like, yeah, no, I won't cry.
I know, right?
But yeah,
Our screen goes off.
it's very dusty in here. But yeah, and this is the sort of this is why I think it's really important that you have really good relationships, because if we didn't have this type of relationship, my children would be the ones that would be suffering when they lost their nana even more. They saw their mum, their stepmom, they saw their dad come, you know. They comforted me. They came to the hospital. They were there when my mother took her last breath. Like, and that to me is something that, you know, like not even some of my friends were there, but my ex-husband and his partner were there. They fed my family at the hospital. They came. They cooked us meals at home. Like, those are the types of things that really, honestly, what this is why I think it's so important for us, and we hope that we can get out there, is that, you know, these are some of the perks, these are some of the good things. It's not always, you know, like perfect, but these milestones, like losing somebody, they were really there for us. But yeah, back to what we were talking about before, I think we've got a really, really good system, really good communication too.
Okay,
And-
my tears are coming down.
No.
Just one moment, please, caller.
Can we pause so we can do our makeup again, please?
Can we rewind, please?
Can we pause? Need some mascara.
All the makeup's coming off now.
But what I was saying earlier was, at the beginning of the week, you know, we would go every day, take food, you know, make sure that, like, we were particularly worried about Ty's dad, you know, because just making sure he was eating and, you know, things like that. And then obviously wanting to be there for the kids and make sure that they didn't feel pulled, or, you know, like that they had to come with us or anything. So it was a way of us being there for them when they were with their mum as well. And then I think towards the end of the week, you know, closer to the actual funeral, a lot of Ty's family were there and Kay's family were there, and that's when we sort of pulled back a bit and just sort of like popped in and visited, and we let them do their thing. Like, we didn't want to be all up in everyone's grill going, oh, we're here and, you know, we deserve a medal. You know, we weren't like that. So it's those sorts of like, T, what you're saying, like, you know, does it get too much? I guess we're conscious to make sure that it doesn't get to that point, you know. So
Man, you guys are doing adulting really well.
Oh my gosh.
like, if someone had said to me, you know, 6 years ago when I was single and on my own, you know, you'll be with someone, you know, that's going to make you happy, I would have been like, nah, you know, it's never going to happen. So it's just crazy to think from where I've come from to where I am now, you know, like, it's insane how things have changed, you know, even probably for Ty in the last, you know, 6-7 years, like from where we were to where we are now. It's just crazy.
I guess it's just a testimony to the both of you and the type of woman that you are. I mean, because I guess if those men were with totally different women, or, you know, if I got with a totally different dude and Tay got with a totally different, who knows? And plus, Helen, you seem amazing. So do you, Tay. So you guys together have made this work. So, yeah, that's actually amazing. I mean, you don't often hear that. You know, you always hear the negative side, and then you've always got the exes stalking the exes, and then hating on the ex-girlfriend, and then, of course, she's white, she's ugly, she's pretty, she's fat, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, carry on, I'm still listening, this is great.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, it's not all roses and stuff, you know, and like we're pretty real about the fact that there's things that we are gonna always disagree on. Like, I mean, I was not brought up in a religious household at all. Like my parents were raised in Christian homes, but actually I don't know about my mum, but my dad was, but we were never brought up religious at all. And when I was with my first husband, his family were religious, but we were definitely not involved in the church. Like, his parents did their thing there, but we weren't involved. Alifa's dad is a minister.
So you went straight to that one, eh?
I went from you know, showing up on Christmas Eve and White Sunday once a year to if I don't go to church, I get a phone call, a text. Where were you?
Yeah.
And he's not a minister at a English church either. It's all Samoan. So I sit there every Sunday for an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes 3.
She needs to have a lot of mu'us to go with her, you know, to church and hats and everything.
And I sit there and my partner's sitting there pretending to pray, but he's napping, and I'm sitting there like this so that he knows that I'm listening. And I can understand Peter, John, Paul, Jacob.
Yeah.
I'm like, yep, that's what they're talking about.
And don't forget the amen.
Yeah.
And amen.
I know all the songs. So my upbringing in terms of like how I was raised in a religious standpoint is completely different to Ty's, and I've always tried to understand and be respectful of their religious views. I still don't know what mine are, to be honest. I'm still trying to figure that out. It doesn't help when you don't learn anything at church because it's all in Samoan.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I think like particularly in the position I'm in where Alifa's dad's a minister, you know, I've had to really suck up a lot and just be like, this is how it is, you know. So
spoken like a true Samoan.
Yeah, suck it up, go with it.
So that's me. But
how do you guys explain the dynamic to your kids, or like how have your kids reacted to this situation? And because I think back to like, especially when the kids were young, and the separation first happened, the kids are always like, oh, I want my parents back together, you know, and there's always that. So has it ever created confusion for them, or how have you worked around that in explaining the relationship?
I think with my two, Ava and Livy, I separated from their dad when Livy was only 6 weeks old, and Ava was 4. So for my two kids, I don't know that they actually remember a lot of what life was like before this. So for Ava and Livy, I mean, Ava's particularly is very close to her dad and her dad's family, and so she I don't know if she remembers us being together. I mean, how much do you remember when you're 4? But I think particularly for Livy, she does not know any different. This is all she'll ever remember. But yeah, the twins will definitely remember.
Yeah, the girls had just turned 2 when we separated the first time. So Alifa and I, we separated when the girls had just turned 2, and then we went through a period of trying to get back together, and we tried, and that obviously didn't work, which is why we're in this situation now. So the girls have grown up knowing that, but also, you'd be surprised what they do sometimes remember as children. They do remember some things about mum and when mum and dad were together, and without revealing obviously too much, that they're happy that this is the way it's worked out. And I think it's made them quite mature. Still, I don't recommend it for any families. It's not what they wanted, or any of us wanted really when we got married the first time, Helen. But at 2, they don't know any better. They started probably having overnights with their dad when they were maybe 3, I think. But they don't know any better. This is what really they know. I mean, they're 12 now, so they've had 10 years of going back and forth. They're well practiced. But in saying that, it's not easy, and even after 10 years, and I posted about that, was it yesterday, that it's still difficult, and we go through stages when they come here that they're not, excited, and I know that it happens too when they come to mine. So, at 2, the same as Ava, I guess, or Livy, they don't really remember much, but I feel that they've adjusted quite well with the circumstances that they've been thrown into anyway.
And I think as well, with the girls, if you think about the twins, they've got 3 older brothers, with their stepfather, and then when they come here, they've got Ava and Livy. So
they're middle children.
They're middle children, and they they get the best of both worlds, because they've got these cool, big brothers, and then they've got 2 younger sisters that they have authority over, basically. So it's sort of like, if you were to take those things away from them now, they would be gutted, because that's their life. They're, like Ty said, they're in the middle. They've got siblings. They're part of a huge family. I've got a really big family friends circle that the twins are all a part of. They've never been excluded from anything at all. They get birthday presents, Christmas presents from everyone, just as if they're my actual children. Well, they are my children, but I mean my biological kids. They're treated no differently than Ava and Livy.
Also, what I wanted to add, what I'm really grateful for them being in this position, is I'm an only child, so they don't have real true first cousins from my side, and so now they've just accumulate all of these extra cousins, brothers, sisters as well. And so I know, and I've mentioned it sometimes, I wish, your family, because most of my dad's family are overseas, and I've got a very small family from mum's side out west. And so I think it's really cool. They do get the best of both worlds. Not ideal, but it is cool for them to have their family circle extended in so many ways because of the blended families on both sides.
That's so cool. I just wanted to ask, Ty, because you're Samoan, what does your family, do they think it's awkward? How do they feel about having your ex-partner and ex and his partner around at times?
I think if I'm honest, it was awkward. I think it would have been for all of us. I still remember my mum, the first time Helen, Lefa and I had talked about, okay, so we were still doing pickups and job, Lefa would still bring in the beginning, and then he'd asked, I can't come this time, this is going to be Helen's first time coming by herself to pick up the children. And I remember at first thinking, what, but this is your time, you should be here to pick up, I know she's cool, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I said, okay, I allowed it, and then she came and I invited her in, and I felt it was really important, because I felt so safe and secure now. I felt at peace with my children, but I knew that my parents weren't feeling the same. And so as an only child, my parents, we lived with my parents, and my mum and my dad had this massive, significant part in raising my children. And so I was hoping that would also bring a lot of peace for them. And so I invited Helen in. Did I even tell you, man, we're doing a lot of revelations today.
Oh, we have that
Get my notebook out.
Yeah, keep going.
And my mum, rest her soul. So anyway, they came on and mum was like, hi, you know.
Yeah, the
As they do.
Was it a real genuine one though?
And so my parents said, and they said hello, and I remember that part. I said hello, blah blah, and then when they left, my mum was like, "Oh, what a great Maya!" What? You know, what? Are you stupid? Like this woman's that's Lefa's partner. She shouldn't have come here. You know, like what if something happens? She could hurt you. You know, but I was like, Mum, and I remember we didn't have a fight about it, but I said, Mum, like she's putting Alia and Anya, your bellies, to sleep at night. Don't you want to meet her? I feel good about it, you know. And I just said, like, I'm not changing it. She's allowed in this house. This is out. So my husband and I had bought the house. Well, like, this is out. You know, she's welcome to come in here anytime she wants. And that really only happened the once. And I think once I said to my mum, you know, don't you want to get to know her? Like, when Anya's sick, who do you think's looking after her? And so I guess it was
Ty's like, it's not Lefa.
100%. But yeah, so I said to my mum, but it was just the one time. It was just the one time, and I think she just needed to. And I think it had a lot to do with the bit, not just that it's Lefa's partner, but maybe she was Palangi, you know.
I think a lot of our old school parents think that way though too.
Yeah.
You know?
She doesn't know how to do it, not the Samoan.
Yeah, mine didn't want me to marry Palangi at all.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and I think it's just the mentality.
Yeah.
It's just the old school. It's like, okay, we got to have patience with our parents.
Oh,
okay.
Harder,
Things
100%.
change. We're in a multicultural society. We're gonna come across other people.
Yeah, but yeah, it was just the one time, and then after I sort of talked to them about it, it was all good. And so, and my parents adored. I said adored. My mum adored Helen. Loved that she was so chatty and got to know her really well. And my dad loves Helen too. So you know, sometimes Helen gets yeah. And that was, you know, going back to that Balangi and what people's perceptions of it. You know, when one time at the hospital, when they came on with food, Helen, because she was Balangi, was able to say no to my dad. You know, if she was Samoan, Dad would have been no, I'm not hungry, thank you, and it would have been left. But because of Helen, she got away with it, and I appreciated it, because she was saying to my dad, no, you need to eat, and she put some food on my dad's plate, and my dad hadn't eaten all day. So these are the types of things that people that we value. So, but yeah.
So awesome.
I think Alefa's parents really struggled at the beginning that we got along well with Ty as well. It wasn't really until, God, it wasn't even that long ago, Ty? Like, you guys came to pick the kids up from church one day, and they got her and Kay both got out of the car and went and gave mum and dad a hug. And after that, they were all good. But leading up to that, they're like, they'd make comments, I think, like it was a bit weird that we would all sort of be doing things together. Like they were, you know. But I think now they understand, you know, it's all for the kids.
But I don't think it's just parents. I think, a lot of our friends probably, I have had comments from my friends, some family members as well, like, in the beginning, how can you, like, don't you think it's weird? And I almost get sort of sick of defending, or I'm feeling the need to justify the type of friendship or relationship we do have. Like, that I just used to be like, my kids are my priority, and that's where it starts and ends. You know, like, I don't care who's Lefa seeing. I don't. None of that is my concern. I just want to get to know the mother, their stepmom. And so, I think it's a lot of our friends and family probably comment and don't say anything. Some have had the guts to say something. You know, to say something to us.
I mean, we were at your house, Ty, a couple of months ago for a barbecue, and one of her husband's friends said, we sat down and he looked at Alefa and I and goes, okay guys, I'm just going to put it out there so we can move on. What's going on here? Like, who are you guys? What are you doing here? are you her ex-husband? Are you her, you know, and we were just like all cracked up laughing. And we were like, yeah, this is what it is. And I remember, and he was innocent and just said, oh, you know, like, is it weird? And Tay's husband Kay jumped in and said, no, why would it be weird? He got quite defensive about it. But obviously it was lighthearted, like the guy meant no harm. He was just like, okay, I'm just gonna like try and suss this all out because I need to know who's who. And
address the elephant in the room.
Basically,
that's it. Yeah.
Basically,
People are just curious, like, actually, is this for real?
And I think it's because it's against the norm, right? Which is
Yeah,
really
it's
silly
not our
because
norm,
it's the best thing. Like, it's like just the most adult thing you could do, but it's weird because it's not normal. And that really sucks too. But is there any boundaries you had to set up to make this thing work?
I don't think that we ever like formally set boundaries, but like I myself have set boundaries. Like when the twins are at my house, at our house, and they ask me something, can I do this or can I do that? If it's something that I'm not like 100% confident on to back myself to go, oh, I've done this because of this, I'll say, oh, you need to ask your mum. Like as an example,
and
just
I
the other day.
so appreciate that too.
Yeah, just the other day, you guys know those dermoblading things?
Oh, yeah.
Gets fit as the peach fuzz.
Yeah.
Well, I've got some here, and my daughter Ava was in the bathroom with me, and she said, and I had it out because, you know, we're in lockdown and, you know, got to get rid of the peach fuzz. So I was in the mirror going, you know, and she was like, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm just using this dermablade thing. And I'd actually talked to Ty about it like ages ago, about how I'd found this really cool gadget, you know. Anyway, and then Alia comes in and says to me, oh, Helen, can you do my upper lip? Because obviously the twins are at that, like, they're very much puberty, pre-teenage, they're very conscious of those sorts of things, whereas Ava's not so conscious. She was just like, you know, wanting to try it. And I looked at Alia and I thought about it, and I was like, no, you need to really check with your mum. And she was like, oh, but she lets me pluck. I said, yeah, this is different though, darling. You just need to check with mum first. And then Anya rolls in and goes, oh, I want to buy one. How much are they? You know? And I was like, no. You need to check with your mum. So, you know, just later on that evening when I was lying in bed, I just texted Ty and said, oh, just FYI, the girls saw me using it. They might ask you about it, you know? Just because I don't want to take that away from her. Like, if it's their first time doing something like that, and like Ty and I are pretty much on the same page with things like shaving your legs, waxing, you know, yes, it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. When you're a mum, it's your right to want to do those things with your children and not have someone else do that with your kids for the first time, you know. Like now that I know she's all good with it and she did it with them, you know, last week or whatever, if they ask me again, I'll be, yeah, sure, you know, but because she's now done that, so I've not taken that moment away from her.
Helen is really, really respectful when it comes to things like that, and she's really open, and even if she'll just flick me a text, and that's, I really appreciate, you know, things like that. It's the little things like that make, I think, make for a really good friendship relationship, and being mamas as well, so we can share all of that stuff. Things like even periods, you know, when we knew that the twins were when the twins were, you know, were due, you know, we had that massive conversation. Even when I mentioned when Kay say I went to get circumcised, and then the girls coming for the first time, and I had to say, you can't jump on him, blah blah blah, why? And then we were talking about, oh my gosh, what should I say? And I texted, I go, what? And so I texted her what I was gonna say. She's like, oh my gosh, you're gonna scare them for life. And I was like, I can't wait to say that. But you know, it's little things like that we share as well, you know, about our children, especially with the girls. And I really appreciate that about Helen, that she's really open and always checks when it comes to stuff to do with the girls.
And I think, like, I always think to myself, if that was, if my kids had been at their father's house and their stepmom, because they've got a stepmom, like, the circle continues, like, it doesn't stop here, guys. So Ava and Livy, when they go to their dad's house, they have a stepmom over there, and she's got 2 kids, and then her and Fia have had a child together. So they've got a half brother and then 2 stepbrother and stepsister at their dad's house. So I always think to myself, you know, if they went there and she did that with them, would I be angry? Yes, I would. So why would I do that to Tai, you know? And, you know, like, I'm not always going to get it right. I'm sure there's going to be times, or there has been times when I've overstepped it. But I think in general, as long as Tai knows that I don't mean any harm, or, you know, then it's, if I make a mistake, it's like, you know, we're all human, you know?
So do you know how you get along with Tai and Kaingiu?
Yeah.
Do you have that same, you and Alifa have that same relationship with your husband and his wife? Does it work like that too?
It wasn't always that way. You know, I can comfortably say this without offending anyone. Me and my ex went through a really, really nasty separation. We've come a long, long way, and it's actually thanks to Alifa. So Alifa went to school with him. So they knew each other from high school. They weren't like close mates or anything, but they knew each other from high school, so they weren't strangers or anything like that. And you know, when he knew that we were together, a couple of months down the track, Lefa texted him one day, just saying, "Hey bro, you know, like, I'm not here to step on anyone's toes. If you want to catch up one day, all good, you know, blah blah blah." And since that moment, we have had such a better relationship. And you know, I think Fia's come a long way in him being a father. He's doing really well with his business. You know, his little boy Cooper is beautiful. You know, and I'm happy that he's happy. And it definitely wasn't like that all the time, but it is now, and I'm grateful. And I think that him probably seeing how good we are with Kay and Tai has probably helped the situation as well now. But Alifa and him get along really, really well. Like, it's a different dynamic to what we have with Kay and Tai, but we all get along really, really well now, and I'm grateful for that also.
That's so cool. Do you think guys are better at that than women are?
I think so.
Yeah.
I do. I really think women get really defensive, and you're protecting your cubs, you know, like they're your babies. They're not that woman's babies. They're mine. You know, I gave birth to them. That all that stuff goes through your head, whereas I think guys are a little bit more chill. Like, Alifa speaks so highly of Kay. Like, he is so grateful that he's her person. Do you know what I mean? He's so patient. He's like, and I don't want to offend anyone when I say this, but I'm probably going to offend people, but I'm going to say it anyway. I've met a lot of Christian people in my life that are not what I would deem to be God-fearing
people.
God-fearing people. And I think that there's a massive difference in people that want to be good Christians and people that are just really good Christians. And Kay is really, really true to his beliefs. I've never heard him speak ill about anyone. If me and Tai are even like having a bitch about someone, he'll be like, "Oh, but you don't know these circumstances," or he's always like that. So if, let's say hypothetically, if the girls were to come to our house and say, not that they ever have, I want to make that clear. But
I was going to say, really? Well,
if hypothetically they came over and said, "Oh, we got in trouble from Kay today," Alifa would never question Kay. He would be like, "Well, what did you do to get in trouble, girls?" Because he knows that Kay would never be mean to them or nasty to them. It would be genuine that they were being little shits, or they needed to be told off, or like he has full faith that he's a good man. Like, he is a great man. He's a honest person, and he's got a big heart, and I think that gives, you know, us peace of mind as well. You know, like, it's not just all about Tai feeling happy with us. We, you know, it's a two-way streak, you know.
Yeah. So what do the bonus kids call you? and call the your partners?
The girls just call me Helen, and that's absolutely fine with me. Like, I would never ever expect them to call me mum, and I'm not their biological mother. All I've always said is that as long as they know I love them, that's all I care about. You know, whether they love me back, that's their choice, but as long as they know that I love them, that's all I've cared about. So I think that they refer to me as a stepmum, but they don't call me mum, and that's absolutely fine with me. Ava calls Alifa, and Livy calls Lefa Daddy Lefa, and that came about because she was very confused when she knows who her father is. I just want to make that very clear for anyone who's going to listen. She for all the whakagalas out there that are going to report me to the family.
Yeah.
You know.
You're a true Samoan, right?
Say it again so they can hear it. Be loud.
Yeah, for all you whakagalas. Like that. Livy knows who her dad is. She knows who her dad is, but she has called Alifa Daddy Lefa because and no one ever told her to do that. She just started calling him that because she was so young, and the twins would come over and call him dad and daddy and stuff, so she just started saying it, but she's always called him Daddy Lefa. That's still to this day, as a 7-year-old, she calls him Daddy Lefa, and I'm pretty sure she even refers to him in front of her dad as Daddy Lefa too, so I don't think it's like a thing, you know. Yeah,
I'm the same with with Kay's boys. They just call me Tay. And yeah, I have no expectations, just like Helen, for them to call me mum. I think it would be strange, and I wouldn't want to take that away. But you know, at the same time, if they were comfortable with it, you know, I'd yeah, of course, it's absolutely fine. But yeah, just say, just like.
So how does the disciplining work in the household?
Gosh.
Because you know how sometimes there are parents who, like you'd mentioned earlier, Helen, you know, your example, but. How does it work? Does the parent get angry at the other one doing something, or how does it work in the household?
I have to say, like, that's if I'm like, one of my things this year was I've got to stop caring about what people think of me, because I can embarrassingly admit that all my life I've been scared of what people think of me, and as I've got older and more confident in who I am as an individual, which really only started happening in my 30s, I think. I've always said, you know, stop caring about what people think about you. You know, if you know in your heart that you've done something right, or you've made the best decision that you could have with the information you had, then who cares? You stand up for yourself and say, I still did that, you know, with what I could at that time. But that's always been, still to this day, my biggest fear about what we have is that if I've told the kids off for something, I worry that they're going to go home and they're going to tell Ty and Kay, oh, we got in trouble from Helen for this. And I'm not suggesting that this happens, but my fear is that rather than them saying, oh, well, what did you do to be told off by, that they might go, oh, you know, Helen shouldn't have, you know, like, I worry about that. So I do have like a bit of a reservation, and sometimes I feel sorry for Ava and Livy, because when I tell them off, like, I'm quite a strict mum, you know, like I had a strict upbringing, and that's, well, when I say I'm strict, I'm like quarter of what my dad was to me, but they probably think I'm strict. But I think that's probably, yeah, I sometimes think, you know, I don't tell them off the same way I tell Ava and Livy off, because I have got that little bit of reservation, like, what if they, you know, and it's silly. It is silly, because I'm sure if there was a moment where the girls really did feel hard done by, that Ty would probably text me and go, oh, hey, can you help me understand this situation? I'd like to think that would happen. It's never really happened. Oh, actually, no. It wasn't so much with me, though. It was, we took the kids away for a trip once, and one of the girls was going through this little phase thingy, and we actually all talked about it together, so it wasn't necessarily just me. So we sort of all came up with do you remember that, B?
Which
the
one?
Anya.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a couple
yeah.
of years ago. And she was going through a bit of a hard time with a few things, just understanding some stuff. But I guess that's my biggest fear about the discipline thing. But Alifa's a pretty strict dad. Like he can be strict. He's definitely got softer as the kids have got older. Like majorly, like he's much softer. But I think him and I were talking about this the other day, and it's not so much that he's got softer, it's just that the kids are older. So, you only have to tell them once now, not, 30 times, like, whereas Livy being 7, she needs a lot more, like, you know what it's like dealing with a 7-year-old. Whereas a 12-year-old, they get it, they know what they need to do, they get it done. So there's the discipline things eased off a little bit. But one thing that I'm really proud of with Alifa and I's disciplining is that we've changed the way that we discipline and teach the kids now. Like, we have all these family meetings. It cracks me up, like we have these family meetings all the time, and we sit at the table at the end of our meal, and we do our peak and our pit. So we go around the table, and we're trying to normalize the fact that for their own mental health, that it's okay to have a shit day and you can talk about it. Like, this is a big bad world, and it's not always roses, and sometimes at the end of our dinner, like, we'll sit down and say, hey guys, like, we've talked about this a million times. If you wear a jumper for 10 minutes, it does not need to go in the fucking washing. Come on guys, like, we've talked about this before. When we finish eating, you guys need to automatically get up and go and do the dishes. Because they, you tell them once, it happens good for one day, and then we go back to all the normal shit that you deal with when you're raising, children. So we've definitely changed the way we parent a lot in the last 2 years. Like, we've made a conscious effort to try and explain to the kids why we're angry at them or why we're disappointed, rather than just going off the rail. So it's definitely something that I'm really proud of, that we've improved on with our parenting. But
the issue for me, I think, if I can share something, is which was quite early on when Gayu and I got married, was the fear of overcompensating, because they're not my children. So my poor kids, if I was thinking Saya needed to be told off, I would be telling them off, and then hoping Saya would fall into line. And so you sort of you tell your kids off more, and then hope that the step kids will listen to step kids, but your bonus children, because you're afraid of the same type of fear of they'll go back to their other parent and say, that she's that evil stepmom. But so there's it's that finding that line, and honesty. And I think the one of my fears, because as B mentioned, Helen mentioned, we call each other B, by the way, is because Lefa was so strict.
Behind that too.
Because Lefa was so strict, I was really afraid when they were starting to talk more. And I've also shared this with Lefa many times, is that we don't want to be so strict. We have to be so careful not to create that fear in our children, because they won't be able to come and tell us if there's something bothering them at school, because that's my biggest fear, is that bullying or somebody hurting them, and they're so afraid of us that they're not going to be able to talk to us and be honest. And so I'm the same. We have a routine as well at home, because we want them to be able to talk to us, and we want them to communicate with us. And then going back to what she was saying about Kate, I'm the huge, I discipline, or, I rule the roost at home, because Kay is so soft. He's a real communicator. He doesn't believe in any, scaring the kids or anything. And so the kids, my babies are able to talk to him about absolutely everything. And sometimes when they're afraid to talk to him, well, not afraid, but they might be a little bit more open with, because he's the stepdad, and I think he overcompensates the same fear. He might also be so reserved, and not tell the kids off, and really hooning to say it, hoping that the kids will fall into line. But that's the biggest thing for me is overcompensating. Gotten better now because we've had a lot of practice. We've been together, with, like you said, 5 years for them. But discipline, if early on in our separation, if there was anything that bothered me, I would just go straight to Lefa. If the kids came back and said Lefa did this, or Dad did this, then I would just text him. It's gotten way better, like you said, B. It's so much better. Maybe because Lefa's gotten old, just like Kay. They're just old. They're too tired now.
Go for the over 40s if you're dating, okay? Over 40.
But I to me, it's all about communication. And when there's things that have happened with the girls, we will usually just text right away or make a phone call or whatever. We're really big on communicating. Hey, this is what's happened with the girls at my house, and also with our rules too. Sometimes when they've implemented rules in their house or we've done the same, we share
let
that,
each other know, yeah.
and so that we can create some consistency in the home, so that it's not too different. And I can say that most of our rules, if not all of them, are the same. So that because can you imagine what it'd be like for the girls? I can stay up late over there, but over here at your 7 o'clock, like your mum used to when she was growing up. But so we try and keep it consistent for their sake, so that it's not so up and down. And we do talk a lot about what types of rules that they've implemented at that house, and we just try and work it out between us.
It is a tricky one, like it is so tricky. Like even 5 years in, I still would tell Ava and Livy off more than I would the twins. I feel like I'm much more patient with them, and it's not that I'm scared of Ty telling me off or anything. It's more just that I think, I don't want them to think that I'm a bitch, like I want them to sort of think, not that I'm cool, that's not the right word, because you
want them to like you. You don't want them to just have this thing of you.
But it's a real fine line. Like Alefa and I talk about this all the time. Like we constantly talk about, when we grew up, we had the fear of God put into us by our parents. Like I remember, being in the back seat of the car and not even asking a question about where we were going, because we were so excited to leave the house. Because people just didn't go anywhere. When we were younger, like there was no money. Like we played with the kids on our cul-de-sac, and that was the excitement. So if we were going to someone's house, it was like sit there and shut up and don't ask any questions about when we're going home, because we just wanted to go. Whereas our kids, like, where are we going? What time are we coming back? What are we going to eat for dinner? And sometimes it's that fine line of, you do still have to discipline your kids because you want to teach them respect, and you don't want them to cross over that line. But like Ty said, at the same time, you want them to feel comfortable to be able to talk to you, so you don't want to put the fear of God into them as well. I think the thing that sometimes Alefa and I try and remind the kids of is, don't cross that line. Like, don't take our us trying to be there's a fine line. Like, like when we were growing up, we never got asked to do the dishes. We were in that kitchen as fast as my dad put his plate down to do the dishes. Like there was never any question. Like, and we get a bit annoyed when we have to say, come on guys, do the dishes, or one of them takes off, and it's like, come on, just do the job and then get done. We shouldn't have to constantly be at you. So it's that fine line, I think. And I think all parents in this generation probably struggle with the same thing, because the last thing I would ever want, especially having girls, is for them not to feel comfortable to talk to us.
And I guess growing up too, I think a lot of us were similar, is that we couldn't talk to our parents, and that's a lot of why we do what we do with this podcast, is because we couldn't talk about any of this stuff. You couldn't talk about all those, everything was taboo. And so it was just, you couldn't go to your parents and ask them about boyfriends and all of that kind of stuff. So what did you do? You snuck out and asked friends, and which is even worse. So
boys used to ring my house, and my dad would say, don't ever ring back here again, and then hang up.
So it's so that's a cool thing that you're creating for the kids as well, even in this situation. Hey, we put it to Instagram a question about do blended families work, or could they work? And we'll just share a couple and maybe get your response to those. Sin, have you got anything?
Yeah, I had a couple. So one was, do blended families work? And someone responded, no. If you're PI, you will never let anything slide or be civil, no matter what you say. Pakeha, yes.
You know what?
I
I
was
read
like,
that.
how do these people know who we're having on
I
tonight?
know, right?
I read that and I went to respond. I was like, no, you can talk about
No,
it. That's
totally.
fine. I was just like, sorry, am I AFAKASI? I must be AFAKASI because if I'm that PI, I'm the exception to the rule. Man, should I respond to that? Oh, we can, but I hope that this podcast proves that theory, throws that theory out the window. I would hope to think that I'm not an exception and that there are many of us PIs out there that aren't psycho.
I reckon.
That aren't one out there wanting to stab the new girlfriend. But we've done that to ourselves, really, guys.
Honestly,
But I hope that this podcast or our page helps that I am the exception to the rule, I guess, and I'm actually quite proud of that. And I hope that it doesn't scare any other multicultural relationships. There are some PI mums out there that can adult quite well and hope to continue.
It's actually funny you say that, the comment that whoever said Pākehā, yes, because a couple of my best friends have got no co-parenting relationship and they're European and they've been through court like you would not believe. Family court, mediations.
It's just that perception, eh?
I agree.
It is the perception
I really
of
think
Islanders,
I really think it's the individual. It also probably helps the fact that I come from a blended family. So my parents separated when I was 16, 2 weeks before my school C exams, just saying it's my excuse for why I failed.
that's
I was going to say, I also use that excuse. That's a good one, man.
No, man, I went to school to do naughty things, eat my lunch. It's surprising I'm employable, actually. But anyway.
Well, hey, see, we crushed that perception as well, because I was a good girl in school. I had no choice. Yeah,
No, but that's what happens when you're naughty. You end up with a whaiwhi au son.
Oh my god. That's what you call God's work, guys.
That's karma, mate. That's karma.
I see Faletua in your future, baby.
Yeah, I see it too. It's very strong.
Nah, if you know Lefa, you know that he's not whaiwhao material. What was I even saying? Oh yeah, so my parents separated when I was 16, and my mum was and still is to this day. How many years ago was that? 20 something years ago. She still to this day is really, really, really bitter. And when my parents separated, I lived with my dad. I wasn't allowed to go live with my mum because of the person that my dad is. So I lived with my dad, and I only moved in with my mum when I was about 18 for like a year. And I moved in with my mum because my dad found out I was on the pill. And I went on the pill to actually control my periods, but he went off his nut.
Okay.
That's another good one. It's a good excuse. You are heaps, man.
That was the original reason, guys. That was the original reason.
And then why not?
The shoe fits. He found out I was on the pill, and he just went nuts. Went down to the doctor's surgery and everything. And I just thought, I can't live with this man anymore. So I moved in with my mum, and I lived with my mum for about a year. And then my dad ended up buying a rental property so that I could move into it. because he didn't want me to live with my mum.
Oh, wow.
But he's actually gone on to remarry, and he's with his wife now, and she's got 2 adult children that are older than me and my sister. So we never grew up in a blended family. Do you know what I mean? Like, I never lived with her or anything like that, but my dad has gone on to remarry. So yeah.
Oh, cool. I had another one. So I'm just reading out the negative ones. Otherwise, they're boring.
Yeah.
So the answer was, oh, hell no. It's not good long term for the kids and not good short term for the parents. Well, I hope this person is watching this because that completely...
I think I'll answer that one. I think the thing that Tai and I have always talked about that we hope that we've got this message through to our kids is, yes, when you're standing at the aisle at the altar, you know, you never think you're going to separate from your husband, but that's just life, you know, like shit happens, and what we are so proud of is that our kids can see that you can our kids can see that you can have you know, that things don't work out, but that's okay, because that's not where life stops. You know what I mean? You can go on and you can be happy with another person. So we, as especially for us raising girls, you know, we want them to know if they get into a bad relationship, it's not the end of the world. You know, you just dump his ass and move on. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I would hate for my children to feel trapped. And I'm sure at some point both Tai and I did feel trapped in our marriages, maybe, you know, well, we must have, because that's why we're not in them. But you know, you want them to know that, you know, it's okay, like shit happens, next, move on, you know, find a new one.
And I guess you guys have been really good role models too for your kids. I mean, showing them that, you know, if things don't work out, it actually can in a positive way in other ways.
You know what? So the girls have come to me. There's which is really sad that they've got friends at school that are in the same situation. Oh, our parents are split up, and the amount of times they've come to me and said, you know, my friend said we're so lucky that our mum and dad get along, and that cements. That's the whole reason we try this, you know, because of them. They are the reason. It's not so that we have more friends. It's not so that we can go on holidays together. It's really because of our children. And they've said that to me more than once with different children. And it's really sad. It's a sad reality that a lot of families are in this type of situation. But for them to come to me and say, you know, that, you know, their friends are saying, I wish my parents, you know, could get along. I wish, you know, and that makes me feel good that they're happy, and that, you know, and I actually am really honest. I will ask them, are you glad? Are you happy? Yes, Mum, and I'm really glad Dad's happy too, and you're happy. So yeah, it just makes me feel so much better about it all. It's not ideal, like as I've always said, it's not ideal, but it's worked out for us. I think I also wanted to, just with that answer to that question, I really wanted to stress that, like Helen, like B said, it's not perfect, and it's not always roses, and that Lefa and I, when we first split, it wasn't like this at all. It was just like any other marriage, I assumed, that ended really badly. We didn't have a great, you know, when we separated, it wasn't okay, high five later, you know, it was terrible, it was hard. But if you're willing to work through that, you know, along with their new partners, it can work. So I think I don't want people to think, oh, you know, it's all crap, you know, and because it wasn't like this in the beginning. But
and believe me, when they fight, because they're both stubborn and they both want the last say.
And what's cool about it is that then the next day we're all good, you know, and I think that's why, and that honestly cements why we're not together. We're just so much better friends. We are good friends, and we can fight and we can say this and that about each other now. And and if anyone's wondering, the thing that we fight about the most is because we want the kids more. I'm so blessed that with their father, he's not an absent father. He is a father that wants the children, and he is always almost greedy for them, and that's the thing that we fight about the most. It's wanting the children more, It's not the where are you, father? You know, what type of father are you? Are you feeding them? Have you? It's always that he wants them more than he gets them, and that's what we fight about. But yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
That's so cool. So just for each, we'll close up shortly. I just wanted to finish with maybe a piece of advice from each of you that you want to pass on to the listeners about blended families. I guess if you've got one piece of advice you want to pass along, what would that be, Helen?
I think it starts from within first. I think what's made this situation easier for me is that following the end of my marriage, I had a lot of counselling for myself because I was really bitter about the way that it ended, and I couldn't understand it, and I never got closure. So through counselling, I worked on me, and further down my counselling, I was actually able to look at my situation and go, okay, that's actually why we separated. It was not all his fault. I had heaps of faults. At that time, when it first happened, I didn't see it. But through counselling, I've had to own my shit and go, oh, okay, well, yeah, I was equally as to blame as to why my marriage didn't work out. And yes, there's all that stuff about, we're two different people, we weren't compatible, of course, but the contributing factors, we were equally to blame. So I think if you are okay within yourself and you can accept that it didn't work out for whatever reason, and everything happens for a reason, and if you can take the emotion out of it and focus on what's at hand, which is your children's happiness, you have to push past it. You have to stop looking at it like, oh, bitterness or resentment or whatever, and just focus on what's important, and that's your children. And I think if you can get to that point, you can almost always make it work. You find that the people that are not willing to make it work, in my opinion, it's because they're still in love with that person, and they haven't accepted that it's over and that it's never going to be again, and unfortunately it's like a phase or a mist in front of them that's preventing them from moving forward with their kids. And it's really, really sad. Like I mentioned earlier, like my mum still to this day will say to me, oh, how's your father? And I hate it, and I think, man, like, what's wrong with you? I was 16 when you separated, and I look at her and I feel sad because I think I would never want to waste my life being angry and upset. Like, life's too short, man. It can get taken away from you in a blink. 1 minute you're here, 1 minute you're gone. And I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be an old lady and be bitter about the fact that me and my husband didn't separate. Life's too short. You got to move on, and you have to. It's a conscious decision, I think.
And look at what can happen when you do move on, right?
Yeah, like once I, like I said, I'm not a religious person, but once I got through all of that negative energy about why my marriage separated, why it ended and stuff like that, I was actually able to live for me. And I believe that when you're ready, the universe brings you what you need, but you have to be ready for that to happen. So, like some of your friends will say, oh, how come I haven't met anyone yet? And it's like, well, it's not your time. Things happen when they're meant to happen. And I was on my own for a couple of years before I connected with Lefa. So I think that it was time for me. And I think that that's what's made this easier, is that I was open to it, I was.
Were
ready
you
for
also
it.
happy that Say already had a man?
I think that probably like no, that's a good question. I think like it definitely made me feel not as paranoid.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good thing. Like if I was on the end of it where she was single, I would be like, like, what's she texting for?
Yeah.
or like, like I think I think like that's just human nature, right? Like if you're being honest,
Yeah,
you know, we're
yeah.
having an honest conversation. I think it has made it easier. And I mean, I think even probably for Ty, like maybe meeting me made her feel comfortable to tell Lefa all about Kay, because it's like, oh well, you've got a girlfriend, so you know, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that what you were saying, it also relates to Kay. Like, he's comfortable with it because he knows that Lefa's happily, you know,
Yeah.
in his relationship as well. So, yeah.
But it's funny because through the years of us, you know, having this friendship and relationship and stuff, we've actually talked so much about, like we've shared with each other why we feel as women our marriages didn't work, you know, and that might seem really weird because it's like, man, that's your partner, you know. But it's funny because I guess I can look at it, if you're going to put a positive frame on it, it's like, well, you know, maybe I can see how much Lefa's growing, you know, maybe that experience of the separation has helped him become who he now is today. And I truly believe, like I was saying earlier, like you know, where my marriage went wrong and the things that I contributed towards our breakup, I'm conscious of that now. So I'm like, I don't want to do that again, you know, like things that I did in my last relationship that I know now were a problem. I'm not doing those things now. So we've grown and we've become better as one. And, you know, like things that we didn't like about it, you know, about our exes, or things that we weren't happy with us, we make a conscious effort not to do those things again, especially if it's a personality thing, you know, like
Something you can change.
Yeah. And I think like by nature I'm a nurturer, and I'm a I don't want to say controller, but I like to I'm an organizer, you know, like Ty will tell you, like I'm an organized person. I like to make sure all my ducks are in a row for like events or parties or anything like that, you know. So I think but I feel like in my last marriage, I did too much of that, and I didn't allow him to be a man in a way. I was too motherly, you know. So I think in my new relationship, I'm like, you know, Lefa's the man of our house, and there's some things that I might not agree with, but I'm like, you know, he's the man of our house. Like I'm a bit old fashioned like that, you know. But yeah. Whereas I never probably allowed my ex to be like that, because I was like, nah mate, I'm the boss, this is how it's going to go down. And it was detrimental to my relationship.
Yeah.
But it's taken me a long time. It's taken me a long time to look at it as an outside in, if I'm making sense.
Yeah. No, that's
a lot of paid counselling.
They do a free at ACC or something if you go.
It is now.
Ty, is there anything one thing you'd want to pass on to the listeners?
My goodness.
Advice?
So many things. Just listening to B, I was sort of along the same lines as knowing when to give up, knowing when to walk away in the relationship sense. But when I was trying to think of something to do with our blended family, the one thing that really stuck out to me, if I could pass on, is respect. If you have a lot of respect for yourself, then you don't, then you allow certain things to hold you back. And I feel like in some instances, especially for us women, me, and being an overthinker, you know, if we can't let go of certain things, and if we don't respect ourselves enough, then it's just not helpful. And it's just not just for respect for yourself, but respect for your ex-husband. Leif and I are separated, but I still respect him as the father of my children. I still respect that we had a life together before, you know, this new change. Not just him, the respect I have for Helen, as the stepmother of my children, the respect that I have for my children, and then also knowing boundaries for my my now husband, as understanding as he is and how as open as he is, I still need to check in with him. This is what I plan on. Sometimes if I need to text Lefa, I will still talk to him about it. I will still let him know that this is what's happening with this, part of the family, or this is what I'm texting Lefa about the girls. Is having that respect to me just flows into every single part of our relationship, but also for yourself as well. So if we can just, and simple things like communicating with respect for aloalo, it's such a huge thing in our Samoa, and I just feel like if we could have a little bit of respect for one another, then things can change. It could be the make or break of communication, and I think that that's something that we really worked on, or that we had for each other, was that whaaloalo, was that respect for one another and the dynamics and the dynamics of our blended family, because I think that's why for us it works so well, is we have that a genuine respect for one another, and being open. Communication to me is everything, is key.
Awesome. That's cool. And I hope that people get that from your blog too. We've talked a bit tonight about often we look at the thing in a negative, but if you're open to learning about it, that hopefully they'll get that from your blog, and so that if they've got questions, that they'll be open to ask you about that and get answers, as opposed to keeping off the norm of that is weird and and kind of looking at it in a negative. So on that, where can we find your blog?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say. So we are on Instagram. We literally talked about this almost a year ago. I think I hit Ty up one day and I was like, man, we've got a good thing going here. And of all of the people I follow on Instagram, I just have never ever seen anyone you follow influencers and they have like a storyline that they go down. Well, none of them have a blended family blog. And it was March last year, lockdown. Yeah, March last year, yeah. So Ty wasn't that keen on it to begin with, because I said to her, we're going to have to be raw, we're going to have to be honest, we're going to have to, talk about things that you probably normally wouldn't share with random strangers, and I said, but I think throughout this time, off and on talking about it, and then when this lockdown hit, we were over their house one night dropping the twins off, and we just sat down and they ended up telling us, I'll stay for dinner, so we stayed for a meal, I just said, we need to do it, let's do it. So Ty went away and thought about it, and she considered a few things, because I guess it's hard, because whilst this blog is about us, as in Ty and I and Lefa and Kay and our four girls together, it's also always going to bring up things about, you asked about my relationship with Ava and Livy's dad, so it's like, how can we tell our story but in a really respectful but honest way, because the last thing that we want is to offend anyone, or to say the wrong thing, or to do the wrong thing. So I think our whole motto was, as long as we do this blog with love and respect, we can't really go wrong, because it is what it is. The truth's the truth. But we just want to help and inspire other people to try and work towards this, because our kids are so happy. Honestly, when we're all together and we're hanging out, they're so happy, because they don't, like Ty said, they don't have to go to school and moan to their friend about their evil stepdad or their evil stepmom or anything like that, so it's about them, and not just that, but further to that, Ty and I have both been single parents, so we know what it's like. We've both at some point in our lives through our journey of being single mums probably had mental health issues. I know I'm the queen of mental health issues. It's something that is really close to my heart, and I'm not scared to speak about, because I think that people are learning more and more about mental health and how important it is. And I think for women, honestly, I don't want to sound like a feminist or anything like that, but for women especially, that, we wear so many hats, and it's so important. So I think we want to inspire women. We want to help in some way. We've all, Ty and I have both been single mums. We've faced financial hardships of being on our own before. The whole dating thing, when's it appropriate to date, when it's not, being exhausted from work, not knowing what to cook for dinner, feeling shit when you come home and wanting to tell the kids to eat noodles, but you get your ass up and you cook them a meal. All of those like everyday mum life, we want to share that, because I think that empowers women and inspires women, and hopefully we can help people along the way. So yeah, Kay and Lefa are part of this blog in some way. That's why we said and then some, because it's like
Those guys.
yeah, those guys.
Them.
But this blog is really about us. It's not even so much, yes, it's about the kids, because one of the things we talked about was, because the page is going to be open, do we really want our kids' faces out there? Like, that's scary, but it's like, nah, I've got to trust that we're out here doing a positive thing, and we can't control what other people think of us. That's out of our control. All we can control is what we do. So if there's one person that we can help, or one person that follows our story and goes, that's really cool, or help change someone's perception on something, then that's what we're about. So hopefully through the blog, you'll see the good, the bad, you'll see everyday mum life. We're going to share recipes, we're going to share life hacks. Ty's the baker and I'm the cook, so we've got that sussed. I'm like really, really passionate about cooking, and she's a really, really she's like anally perfectionist.
We'd all match up really well, because we're good taste testers. We are really good.
Oh, perfect.
Professional.
Let us know.
She's
Then
the baker. She's the baker in this relationship, and I'm the cook. So we share recipes. Like, sometimes I'll say to Ty, oh my God, the kids ate this today.
I hate cooking, guys. I just...
Yeah, me too.
I can't.
I love it.
I can't get my head around it. So, but I've had a lot of help from Bea. I've had lots and lots of help from her. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's so cool.
And
So
she's
what was the name
baker.
of your Insta
Blog.
site? Your blog?
It's two mums, as in the number 2. So two
And then
mums
some.
and then some. Yeah. So hopefully all your listeners will give us a like and a share, or at least follow us and follow our journey, and hopefully it ends well, and there's no punch ups or anything.
Or not.
And if there is, just
4 weeks deleted.
No. If there are punch ups, just video it and put it up on the blog too.
Yeah,
That
we
stuff
might
goes
get more
viral.
followers.
We might go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hide out. You just make up a fight, and then
That's
you'll
your
be-
followers right there.
It's all about the drama.
Yeah.
Look, guys, thank you so much, Helen and Sai, for coming on today. You've shared so much with us and the listeners, and honestly, we relate to a lot of the stuff you're saying. We're sitting here nodding our head, because there's so much that a couple of us are single parents as well and know what it's like. So that's so awesome that you're doing that, and that you're doing your blog and sharing that. Also being really open and vulnerable as well helps to people who are in the same situation, just feel connected to you and know that they're not alone, and that it is possible. So that's really awesome that you guys are doing that. Big ups to you. So we will put a link to your Instagram on our bio and in our description, and that's it for us. So thank you guys again for coming along, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks
and
for
good
having
night,
us,
everyone.
guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I should just mention as well to the listeners that we are doing a giveaway this we're going to announce a giveaway on Friday, so
Right.
it's really, really
Exciting.
cool. So maybe
awesome.
I'll message you soon, and you could also
Yeah.
share that we're going to do a giveaway, which will be drawn next week. So
I'll
Yeah.
put my own name out. Thank
Yeah.
Are
you.
there Afghans in the prizes?
Yeah, I was going to say
honestly.
that.
Can be arranged.
Okay. Okay, come in. Thank you.
she's the Afghan
so
queen.
much.
Thank you
It's
so
my
much,
birthday on
guys.
Friday as well, so if you can help me out with some Afghans, that would be great.
Well, that's cheating.
And I'm so stoked I finally got to go on a podcast, because I always harass Linda. I'm like, you're going to put me on your podcast. And she's like,
Meanwhile, I'm not sleeping and like gonna be my wife because I was like, oh my gosh, you want to do this? I was the total opposite, just total like, oh my gosh.
So much fun. Well, you guys did it.
You did it. You put yourselves out there. You guys have an amazing story. You've had an amazing journey, and it's going to be we're just going to be so interesting to see the rest of your journey and how everything goes. So the best of luck to you guys. I'm definitely going to
sharing your journey.
hit and follow you guys.
Absolutely.
And if you guys, get famous and blow up, just mangakua us, remember us, come to you and invite us to your podcast.
no, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
All good.
Cheers.
So
Thank
just stay on, guys. Stay on
Okay.
for a bit. All right.
Okay.